We're getting closer to when people who say they want to be Louisiana's next governor make it official.
Sabrina Wilson looks at how the already announced candidates are doing in terms of fundraising.
Things will soon become official in the governor's race. Qualifying is less than 3 weeks away.
Until the field is set, anything could still happen, and I still expect there are going to be some surprises at some point in time down the line.
But the latest campaign finance reports show us how the candidates who've already announced they're running are faring money-wise. July 17th was the deadline for campaign finance reports covering April 8th through July 6th. Republican Attorney General Jeff Landry raked in $4.6 million during that time frame, and he had $9.1 million on hand for that reporting period. 4 other Republicans are in the race. State Treasurer John Schroeder's total contributions were $208,000, and he had nearly $2.2 million on hand. Former LIB leader Stephen Wagaspack took in $1.3 million in contributions and had $1.8 million on hand. State Senator Sharon Hewitt's contributions totaled $57,400, and she had $350,000 on hand. State Representative Richard Nelson received close to $27,000 in contributions and had just shy of $280,000 on hand. The sole major Democrat who's running, former State Transportation Department Chief Sean Wilson, had contributions of over $500,000 for the same period of time and about $595,000 on hand. And veteran attorney Hunter Lundy, who is running as an independent, had contributions totaling $146,000. He also received $700,000 in loans and had $2.1 million on hand at the close of the reporting period.
Well, it's no surprise that Jeff Landry is leading in the fundraising race because he has been running for office so much longer than all the other candidates.
Dr. Robert Collins is a Dillard University political analyst.
But it's important to stress that it's still very early in the race. Qualifying hasn't even happened yet. We don't even know exactly who's going to be in the field yet. And so fundraising really won't start happening in earnest until the field is actually set. So, it's really too early to draw any absolute conclusions from the fundraising numbers at this point in time.
Collins thinks some big money donors may be waiting to write checks to Wilson's campaign.
Since Sean Wilson is the only major Democrat currently in the race, the Democratic establishment is under the assumption that he pretty much has a guaranteed spot in the runoff.
And the big question is whether voters will end up having even more candidates to consider once official qualifying is over.
This is Louisiana. Louisiana politics is always exciting. So we won't know the type of race that we're going to have until qualifying closes on August 10th.
And the primary election is October 14th. Dr. Collins says if indeed it's a Republican and a Democrat in the runoff, he expects more political action committee funds to flood the campaign. Lee.